I have a bone to pick with you.
I like red. I just didn't smash him.
You smashed Plucky.
Yeah, Plucky's fine. I like Plucky.
Plucky is a goddamn bitch.
No, no. Plucky was one of my first villagers. Plucky and Sprocket.
Oh, I tried to
And
get her out of there so fast. I was like, you get out of here, man. I hit her with nets. I pushed her in holes.
Aw.
I blocked off
She's
her
cute.
house.
There's something about her. She's like a brown chicken with like blue. There's like a nice, like, I don't know, like a cafeteria worker vibe that I just really fucked with, I guess. And I'm like, there she blows.
She does give that vibe. I will say, though, you did kill the pea hand monkey, and I was very glad about that.
Yeah, monkeys. I'm not a big monkey guy.
Hello, lovely people. Welcome in to That Sounds Gay. My name is Jer, and I will be a podcast host for a short time. And I am joined by my very, very good friend. We got Aaron here, otherwise known as the Waluigi apologist.
What? Yeah, that's me. I am
the baby park hater.
That's true. That's a fact. That's so true. That's true. Yes, it's me. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I'm MPB or Aaron. I do hate Baby Park. I do love Waluigi. You like Waluigi,
I
right?
love Waluigi.
Are you... Okay, I know we just started, but I'm going to ask you a question. Do you like Luigi or Waluigi more?
Oh, it's Luigi 100%, hands down.
That's what I thought. I figured as much, but I wanted to be sure. I wanted to be safe. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's Luigi, hands down. I mean, I do love Waluigi, and low-key, I kind of ship him and Luigi together.
Oh, yes.
I have this personal headcanon that I shared the other day that I think that Luigi and Waluigi are secret boyfriends, but I feel like Peach has, like, homophobic views in Mushroom Kingdom. And Daisy is in love with Peach, but can't because
for sure.
She's fully in like a little polyamorous relationship with Bowser and Mario, and she is like, "Oh no, Bowser caught me again. Mario, you have to come get me. Oh no, my boyfriends are having sex with each other. What if I'm watching from the distance? What if I joined them?" Like, I feel like that's what's going on. And Daisy like calls Luigi up, and she's like, I can't. I have to tell you about what happened with Peach. I was just trying to have a conversation with her, but I'm in love with her. And Luigi's like, that's nice. Okay, I'm gonna go hook up with Waluigi now.
I bet Luigi's like a really good listener, but it's like, girl, come on, like hurry up. Like, let's get this over with.
Just move on.
Fair, valid. No judgment here.
That's my headcanon that I have about it. So no, I do like Waluigi though. I just don't think he gets enough love.
As of recent, I think Waluigi gets a lot of love. This is what this episode's going to be about, is Waluigi's love. I think he's very well sought after these days.
Now he is.
Yeah. Back in, like, I guess the early 2000s, not so much.
No, everyone was, like, very into the Wario, which I've never really gotten into.
I like garlic.
Yeah, I mean, garlic's fine, but
Garlic's
his
nice.
whole, like, burp fart thing, it doesn't do it for me.
Fair, yeah. Yeah, me too. Retweet.
Isn't that one of his, like, special moves in Smash, is that he, like, farts?
Farts, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what is a specific name for it, but yeah, he's like a gas meter, essentially.
Yeah.
And then he, like, it's like an insta-kill if you land it.
I think
I feel like any big fart would be. What is this episode of your podcast? I love it.
I love this. But yeah, that's my feelings on him. I ship them. They're great. How have you been, like, life-wise? If you feel comfortable sharing, how's everything going on your front?
I'll share. Yeah, thanks. Well, first off, I'm gonna start clean. Once again, Jay, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course.
I'm Aaron, or MPB, Mr. Purple Broccoli. I'm a Twitch streamer. I play video games on the internet decently. But yeah, life has been okay.
Good at video games.
Let's not push it. But yeah, I'm an actor as well, so I do a lot of film, television, theater, and I dabble in a little bit of voiceover as well. But everything so far is going well. I think the beginning of the year is always kind of a big start for actor-wise. So it's a pilot season. So then the summer hits, and then we start shooting a lot. So, but yeah, no complaints from me. Just enjoying life while I still have it. So, yeah. How about you?
You know, door dashing's been interesting. It's been really, really interesting. So the other day, I'm still figuring out how this app works, but the other day I got a ping and it was like, your area is really busy. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's go make some money. So I got in my car and I drove down the street to the area that was highlighted in red. And I parked my butt outside the Mother's Market. And I'm like, all right, let's wait
I don't know what that is, but sounds fun.
It's like a organic Whole Foods, very Karen-y type, grocery store. So I'm like, waiting outside and 10 minutes goes by, 15 goes by, 20 goes by. And I'm like, you know what? I think they lied. So I am about to leave. And then I get a ping and it's like, Wendy's. So I'm like, oh, cool. There's a Wendy's across the street. Let me just go to it. So I just clicked directions just to make sure. It took me to the other side of town, to an industrial area that did not have a Wendy's. Turns out there was only one Wendy's in town. The app had the wrong directions. So I had to go to the complete back other side where I was at. And then I parked outside the McDonald's waiting for another order because I'm like, okay, maybe it's picking up. And then after like 30 minutes, I'm like, you know what? I'm going home.
DoorDash is
all a lie.
Yeah, the app is terrible. DoorDash company, if you're listening to this lovely podcast, you'll need to do better.
Please fix your app. Please fix your app.
Yeah, no, it is awful. It crashed. Matter of fact, I don't know when you were door dashing. It did crash the other day because of Wendy's.
Really?
By the way, because they were hosting a special about if you like ordered through DoorDash, they give you like half off like a biggie bag or whatever. And so many people were trying to order DoorDash, it crashed their entire app for like 10 minutes.
I wonder if that was the day that it happened to me because I was dashing and I had an order and I got to the customer's apartment complex. I went to message them like, how do I get to your apartment? Because I could not scroll down to where they left the instructions on how to get there. So I was like, well, I can't get that far. So let me message and see if they respond. And then I went to go back and the app went white, like full blank white screen. And I started freaking out and I managed to figure out how to get customer support. And I'm on the phone for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, this person was supposed to get their food like 15 minutes ago. Can you call them and have them come down here? So he called and he's like, okay, you'll have to uninstall the app and then reinstall it. And I was sitting outside this person's apartment complex at like 9 at night for about half an hour waiting for it to re-download because I didn't want to get off the phone with customer service until I knew that it worked.
Yeah.
And when it finally booted back up, I'm like, I'm just going to go home. I've had enough tonight. So it sounds like
you're thriving.
Oh, I'm having a great time. I mean, it is really fun. I love driving. I really enjoy driving. I like seeing new stuff, and I found like a whole sector of this city that I've been living in for 10 years that I had no idea that there was this district that had these beautiful, I can only assume they're like Buddhist temples, beautiful temples that I've never seen before. I found this park that had a lake that I never knew that existed. And I'm like, it's really cool to kind of explore this city that I've been in for so long and get to look around at it for once. So on that front, it's really nice, and I love blasting music. I love blasting music.
I think it's fun. I think door dashing to me, it itches at like a weird part of my brain, like for like side quests and video games. Like you're on a fetch quest, and for whatever reason, I really jive with that. That's a word from the 50s, I think. Not vibe, jive. I jive with that. And it's fun. I'm like, can I get it to them before the drop-off time? Wow.
Right. It feels very Skyrim to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's fun. And I like, and you brought up a good point. I like seeing parts of my city that I haven't really been for. And I'm a big foodie, which you know this about me.
Yeah.
Because I eat broccoli with horrendous things that you love. And I'll find cool restaurants. And I'll be like, I should eat here before I leave the city or I die.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's crazy that you and I both DoorDash that. I love that.
Yeah. There's this, since you mentioned the food, there's this pho place that opened up maybe like a year or two ago, and I got a dash to get something from it, and I went inside and I'm like, this place is beautiful, and I'm like, I want to go there. I just want to try the food. It was so cool on the inside. And that's the nice thing, is getting to see some of these restaurants that I've kind of casually seen while driving but never went into because I had no reason to. And You know, I'm like a creature of habit all the time. I'm like,
Me too.
I know
Sometimes.
this. Jack in the Box is safe. I'm gonna go to
Oh
Jack in the
yeah,
Box all the
I heard their
time.
ranch is trash.
How dare you?
I heard it's garbage. So
How
bad.
dare you? I love Jack in the Box Ranch. You know this. I
What? No
love.
way.
There is this tweet that I saw like 2 years ago and it went viral, and it was this girl who went to Jack in the Box, tried to get ranch, they didn't have it, or they had it, and she was like, I'm really obsessed with the ranch. I would drink a whole bottle of it if you had it. And this employee, who I can only assume was like, you know what, fuck this place, came out with a box, like the
Hell
one
yeah.
from the fridge, and it was packed from top to bottom with ranch. And this person had like their supply box, because I can only assume this person just didn't care about the job anymore. And she tweeted it and was like, the person at my Jack in the Box gave me this box of ranch. Like,
You would have
that
thrived.
is the dream. Oh,
Yeah,
truly.
you would have thrived.
I, at one point, when money was super consistent, during the pandemic, and we were able to go out more often because,
Yeah.
Whatever, because the government was paying us more than my job actually was while we were on furlough. We would go to Jack in the Box like almost every week, sometimes twice. And I had at one point my stash of Jack in the Box ranch, because I would always ask for lots. My stash, I had, I think, 12 at my height. Just always at least 12, and I would always refresh it, and I'd be like,
I'd like
okay.
to keep this
I
in
did.
lockdown until you're like 12. 12? I got it. I counted. I know you're there.
And I remember one time my partner took one, and I'm like, did you take one of my ranch? He's like, yeah, I had extra chicken tenders. I'm like, why didn't you ask me?
I love that. I love the ranch is good though. I agree.
It's really good.
But as you might know, I've only had Jack in the Box 3 times in my life.
I know.
So.
I know. But I mean, to be
Wasn't a
fair,
consider.
I don't think that there are many that are near you.
No, I looked. I tried to inspire you, to be inspired by you by going and getting some. And then like, I was going to send you a spicy DM and be like, look, I got the ranch. But I couldn't find one. It's like 2 hours away. I was like, nah, no, it ain't worth it.
No,
So,
at that point, it's definitely not. One of my Twitch followers recently came over towards the West Coast for a concert, and they were like, Jer, I'm going to Jack in the Box. There's one right down the street from our hotel. And I'm like, thank God. And they tagged me in my Discord in a photo, and they were like, we got it twice. I'm like, it's so good. I love Jack in the Box, but I always feel bad because I have people over in the UK that are like, what's that? Or people in Canada that are like, I want to try Jack in the Box. I'm like,
not for you.
it's not for you. It's too far away.
Yeah, that's me with Chipotle, because a lot of people in like the UK don't have Chipotles, and as you know, I am a Chipotle stan.
Yeah.
People still use that word, fan, stan? I don't know.
I think people
Whatever.
still use Stan.
Who knows? I'm old. Well, I'm not that old. I'm
mean-
olding. I'm aging.
I can't keep up with what people are doing now. I hear new phrases left and right, and I'm like, what does that mean? I'm just getting on girly pop.
Oh yeah, girly pop gay. Yeah,
I'm just barely getting on that. But people are saying baby girl now.
Oh no, I don't like that for whatever reason. I just don't like that.
Yeah. I don't
don't know. I like the Balenciaga memes. I don't know if you know those. Those are funny.
I kind of do. Someone, I know the ick has been around for a long time, but I know more people are starting to use the ick again, and that's getting back in fashion again. And I'm like,
it's interesting.
we need to get some more phrases in. Speaking of that, I said jump the shark the other day. Do you know what this means?
Yeah, doesn't it mean like it's like you're like, oh man, the only thing I can think of is the other phrase, like jump the gun. Are they the same or not?
Jump the shark is like when you've gone so far in your television show. It comes from Happy Days, when Fonzie was challenged to jump over a shark, and it was such a ridiculous plot point, and it was like, why are we doing this? This is not what the show is about. And so jumping the shark is sort of this phrase that you use when it is so ridiculous and post everything that you've already established. So it's just like a really farcical phrase, and I used it the other day, and someone was like, what is that? Like,
Yeah,
God,
I don't think I've ever heard that.
my
Okay,
references are so
phrase-
dated.
Oh, okay, speaking of dated, do you know the phrase "all that in a bag of chips"?
Yeah.
Okay, that phrase is like from the early '90s, I think, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not something I've heard anyone say since I was in elementary school.
Yeah, no. Same.
Dead phrase. Wild. I miss it. I miss those.
It's a great phrase. You should use it. Try to swing
All
it
that in a
back
bag of
in.
chips. Oh, gosh.
Well,
No, I'm gonna
because
bring back like Glomp and RAR XD. That's my goal in life. I'm gonna cap on that one and be like, all right, I did it. I'm retired.
oh my god, RARXD is everything. But
Everything.
and a bag of chips,
Oh,
doesn't that come from 7-Eleven culture, I think? Where
yes.
you would, or like gas station culture, where you'd go and you'd get your drink and your snack, whatever it was, because they, I feel like 7-Eleven AM PM, though, those gas stations
Yeah.
used to really pitch out, the hot dogs, the burgers, chicken sandwiches, pizza, whatever, and you get the bag of chips as the side, and
The combo deal.
or
Yeah.
like, or even at like sandwich shops, you'd get the bag of chips, and I feel like some restaurants before, I mean, I know that fries have been around forever, but some restaurants used to do chips instead of French fries.
I know Subway was a big pioneer on that too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big sub sandwich place guy, but I do know that was relatively popular. But
Did y'all have Blimpies? I don't think Blimpies exists anymore.
no, I don't know what that is.
Blimpies was another sub shop, but I don't know if it was just something that was only in California or what. But yeah, Blimpies was lit. Blimpies was
Yeah, I've never
super
been.
lit. They were doing the toasted thing before Arby's did, and
Oh,
it wasn't a mechanic that was specifically built in, but you could ask for your sandwich to be toasted if you wanted it to, and they would toast anything. They would toast the cheese on it. They'd put the
wow.
meat on it, however you wanted it. And I feel like Subway started doing it kind of
Probably as a
after.
competition. They were like,
Yeah.
we gotta get our game up.
Right, because Arby's was like, that was their whole gimmick, was we toast your sandwich, right?
We toast the meats.
We have the meats, whatever the phrase is now.
Yeah, I haven't been one of those also in like 10 years.
But
So
Arby's is not that good.
it's okay.
So sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, Arby's sauce is kind of bad.
You know what is good though? They're curly fries.
Curly fries are good. I
They're-
don't know why I'm whispering now.
I don't want to upset the Arby's stands because I feel like anytime I'm like, I don't like Arby's, it's kind of trash. People get their pitchforks and are ready to
Really?
cancel.
Said that
Yes.
loudly.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I mostly have these conversations on Twitch with, my community and stuff, but even people that I've talked to in real life that like off Twitch that I talk about Arby's, as soon as I say something bad about it, they're like ready to fight. They're ready to cancel me.
That's interesting. Well, I feel like that is kind of like a part of being in an internet setting when you have a community of whatnot, and then you say something, they're like, "What? I thought you loved Arby's. How could you betray my trust like this?" So,
I thought you had good taste.
Yeah, it's like, well, but yeah, but no, I know that type of thing. Like, if you have an opinion, like me, I hate Applebee's, and every time I talk about Applebee's on my stream or anything like that, my community sometimes are like, Applebee's is the best. I'm like, no, it's not.
Applebee's is the thing that has given me food poisoning the most in my life.
As it should. I think that's like not like as it should, like, but as it probably should. It does. It's awful. I can't.
Yeah, it's like
Applebee's,
Taco
if you're
Bell.
watching this, I love you, but yeah.
Taco Bell and Applebee's have given me stomach aches more than any other restaurant in the whole world. And Applebee's was in my hometown that I grew up in, Applebee's was one of the first like big restaurants that showed up. Like we had a Denny's, but when Applebee's moved in, it was like, oh my God, the town is growing. We're about to become a city. It never did.
Dollaritas.
And it was like a big deal that Applebee's was there. I had my senior year graduation party at Applebee's.
Oh wow, that is exciting, very honorable, very cool, prestigious.
I mean, in my hometown, all there was a bowling alley and Walmart. So
I get that though, because in my community college, when we got an Applebee's when I was a senior in community college, and that was also a big deal because either you went there, or you went to like Waffle House or Huddle House, which I don't think is a thing on your coast.
I don't think so.
We also had a Walmart, but Walmart was like the place everyone hung out. They would park all their pickup trucks, and they would, rev the engines, and they'd all walk around Walmart for like 5 hours. Like,
right.
It was like a date in our college. Like you want to go on a date? I'm like, yeah, where you want to go? It's like, we want to walk around Walmart. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, woo. So yeah, that's where I'm from, the middle of nowhere, Mississippi. So.
When I was in college, we used to go to Walmart because we had a 24-hour near my campus. We used to go to Walmart at like midnight, and we would do I don't know if it still exists anymore. This was a decade ago, but we would do because we had camera phones. We would play the hide and seek game, or like a
Ah,
not hide and seek. It was like a scavenger hunt. So one person would go ahead, and the rest of us would kind of linger at the front. One person would go to a random point in the store, take a photo of an item, and then everybody would pair off in groups, and we had to find that item. Whichever group found it could find the next one. And I remember we got a little bit rowdy, and we got kicked out of the Walmart because they were like,
so
"You need to stop running
creative,
around
though.
here," and we're like, "But." Nobody's here. It's 1 in the morning.
Oh yeah, the Walmart employees. Yeah, they are always testy. But that's so creative, though. I love that.
Yeah, we
That's
used to do
awesome.
that because I went to a Christian school, so we were not allowed
Mm.
to cohabitate after 10 p.m. When it hit 10 p.m., that's when boys and girls want to have sex with each other.
Only
Apparently,
then.
only then. So
Only then.
if you were in somebody's room who was not assigned the same gender as you, and the door was closed or even open, and it was after that hour, and you were caught, you could be put on suspension. So we would just go out, which is so funny because it was like you can't cohabitate, but if you go off campus and go somewhere, we can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I
It
can't
was like
stop you.
it's such a weird, strange rule. So we would go out to the Walmart on weekends, and we would just hang out there, because it was a safe place to be at after hours, because a lot of beaches were closed and
And
restaurants were
there's lights
closed.
and there's
Right,
people and things.
right. So it was safer to go out in groups and
Yeah.
not have to be like on the streets spending time with your friends after a stressful exam or whatever. So we used to do that. That was fun.
Crazy. We have very similar like college-esque experiences or like early youth's experience. It's crazy. Look at us. We're so
Yeah.
similar. Ah, besties.
I miss college. Like, I really
Yeah,
do.
me
I
too.
miss the camaraderie of it. And I think that's what I really like about Twitch, too. I
Hmm.
don't know if you feel the same way. Like, it feels nice to be around people who have such a similar mindset. But then at the same
Yeah.
time, there's so many little quirks that come along with that.
Caveats. Yeah. Oh, look. All right, we're diving in. We're
We're
diving in.
diving
I'm ready.
in.
We're
We're
diving in.
diving
Okay, I'm
in,
ready.
and that's
I'm
a
ready.
that's the kind of bulk subject of today is parasocial relationships. And I know that you've been on Twitch for you just did 3, right?
Yeah, my 3 year just passed.
Yeah, yeah. So you
Long,
probably have
long time.
a lot of experience with this. Plus, being in entertainment, as long as you have been doing acting, that is
Sure.
that is very prevalent in that culture. I used to work in Disneyland, and I
I
worked in
know
the
this.
entertainment department, and I did drag for a couple of years, and that's all in
Yeah.
entertainment realm as well. And there's this massive parasocial umbrella in all of that. That's
Yeah.
wild.
It is an interesting field. And you know what? I'm gonna backtrack to your college thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and then I'm gonna connect it to the internet
I
setting and
got
even
you.
acting. Yeah, it's interesting because when people usually ask me what I miss most about my university days, even my community college days, it's the fact that you have like it's almost like a found family sense of
Yeah.
situation. But it's tangible, right?
Right.
Because everyone you see the people, you interact with them, and you do have that time and the opportunity to have
Right.
like a more in-depth, fleshed out relationship. And it's not true that in a Twitch setting or like a YouTube setting or even an acting setting, you can't still form those relationships with members of like your community, but it's a
Right.
lot harder because that the availability for the relationship it just doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Right. Right.
So it takes on a whole new thing. It's still like a found family. It's still like your found space, right? But there are different caveats to it. Whereas in college, like you see the people, you can make it, but in the internet, it's different.
Right.
So
And
yeah,
it's such an odd experience to feel like you're in a relationship with somebody, even if it's just a friendship one, feeling like
mhm,
you're in this relationship and then having this very quick realization like, oh no, we're just in the sort of entertainment realm, we're just coworkers
yeah.
or what have you. It sort of shatters your brain and your perception.
There's a weird sadness to that, though. I
Mm,
think. I think the realization of what a parasocial relationship is heartbreaking. I
right.
think for me, since you said I've been streaming for 3 years, I've been acting for nearly 15.
Mm,
Um, comes a point where you do have to make that realization that the people you're getting close to will never probably I never say never, but
Right.
more than likely, will never likely be able to have a real relationship with you.
Right.
And then they start forming these ideas about you, and then there's a certain sadness about it, because I think for me as a humongous people pleaser, which is disgusting,
Same.
but I love making people happy, and I love being able to give people the relationship or the validation that they need or they
Right.
deserve or whatever. But there comes a point when you have to realize you can't do it.
Right.
You just can't do it. It's impossible for everybody.
Right. Completely. How do you personally navigate that? Like for yourself to avoid, or does it hurt every single time?
Oh man,
Let's get deep.
yeah, that's a great question. I think early on in my streaming career, I have a very good memory. I'm toot my own horn, go
Yeah.
me. But for acting wise, I have to be able to memorize a script like very quickly for an
Mm-hmm.
audition or for a show. And that translated a lot to streaming in the sense that I would remember people coming in. I would remember what their favorite color was
Right.
or their favorite drink, because I love talking about random shit.
Yeah.
Like the first half of this podcast is me just talking. So, but I love that relationship, right? And then early on, I would remember, and then eventually people would stop coming to the stream or something, and that would really hurt me. And I'd be like, oh, I wonder where this person, because I would remember all these things about them.
Right.
And then it kind of changes too. There comes a point where, this is kind of an off your question, but I'm gonna say it anyways.
That's okay.
Streaming, people will get an idea of you,
Right.
They have a perspection and a perspective of you that you might not have of yourself. It's very normal for people to have this from just real friends.
Yeah, in real life, we have a version of people in our heads of who they are.
For sure. And there's nothing they can do about it. Like, it's human nature. You're gonna do it.
Right.
But that applies to streaming as well.
Right.
And since a lot of times, for me, for instance, I do have I'm vulnerable to a certain degree, which I do put on. I think every streamer puts on a little bit of a facade, a little bit of a character.
Absolutely.
As a safety network or as marketing.
Right.
But there comes a point where people are going to have these ideas of you, and then when their idea of you doesn't match a version of you, maybe it's the real version, or maybe it's like maybe you're having a low spell that week. I know for me, like, I do struggle with a lot of depression and anxiety, and then sometimes what if I'm having a bad week and I just don't have the ability to like really keep up the energy levels or the charisma or charm that I normally do, and people will message me and be like, "You've changed. You're not what I thought you were."
Oh, I hate that.
but that's that parasocial relationship. Is like in their head, like they form this relationship with this very specific version of MPB.
Right.
And when I can't, for whatever reason, hit that mark anymore, I'm gone. I'm lost. Like I'm just and that's hard for me. That's still hard for me to this day. I've gotten better about it, but still. What about you? Like, what's your relationship with that?
I think I'm still sort of trying to figure things out, if I'm being completely honest. I had a situation recently where I really became very much aware of what the situation was and how it all developed. And like you said, people have a version of you in their head. And I think most viewers are kind of aware. And this happens in the acting realm too. This happened to me as a drag performer too. People have an idea of who these characters are. And then there's also in the back of their mind, they're aware that you are a public figure of some kind,
Yeah.
And I recognize this in my drag times too, especially because there was one queen I was really close with, and she and I would talk a lot, and she would book me. She was very kind to me, and I had a very real vulnerable moment because I felt like I got shafted in a competition, and I was very vocal about how I was frustrated about that, and that idea of who I was in her head versus who that public figure person was suddenly became at odds with each other. And that's what happened on Twitch too, is that this person had this idea of who Jeremith was, but they also recognized Jer is also a Twitch public streamer and is a public figure. And I made this very quick realization, or slow realization, I guess, because it took however long for it to happen, is that as soon as you stop being not coherent, because that's not the word I'm consistent with that version of who they think
Oh,
you are, those two things immediately get divorced, and you are only public figure, and you must be stopped and canceled and called out because of your actions. Even if you didn't do anything wrong and you were just being authentically you, because you stopped being that idealized version of who they are. You're now just some public figure.
Yeah, and that hurts.
It does. It
hurts.
Sucked. Because I sat for hours and I kept thinking, like, what did I do wrong?
Oh, yeah, same. Oh my God, me. Like, you and I have talked a little bit about relationships, not relationship, but like experiences with streaming and like kind of growth. But growth is interesting because growth requires people to really want to have a certain type of relationship with you, but it's jeopardized if you are not consistent to the version that they want you to be.
Exactly.
And so that is tough too, especially if your goal on content creation, which I think most people's goal is to grow, not maybe become fame and fortune, but like to grow. Like everyone wants to become, most people want to become better.
Right.
But yeah, that's a tough situation, because the moment their version of you is shattered to a certain extent,
right,
it does change, and it's sad.
Right.
And you're wondering why. And I feel like maybe I'm gonna ask you. Do you ever wish you could like ask them where you went wrong to pinpoint, or like what you maybe changed or did differently, or like something like sometimes I count that like, oh, I was just having an off day, but like, you ever feel that way?
Yeah, no, I did do that with somebody.
Really? Okay, cool.
I reached out because I felt like I had done something wrong, because they were someone who I was really close with. We were messaging all the time. And I messaged and I was like, you haven't been around in like 2 months, and we talked at least 3 times a week before, and I just want to make sure I didn't do something wrong. And I got a very pointed, kind of very unkind response, which was later deleted from our DMs because it was all on Discord. And so I'm like, damn, that sucks that I can't go back and look at it and obsess over it.
I'm like,
and it was sort of like, basically, oh, these other people are more important to me now. And I, on one hand, I was like, okay, big, appreciate the honesty. But on the other hand, I'm like, oh, that burns. That burns. So there's definitely been a process of figuring out how to move forward with those situations and how to protect myself. And you mentioned earlier about sort of putting on a slight persona, is that when I'm now doing certain content creation things, there is definitely more of a mask that I have to put up to protect me, because I'm still there, That person is not invulnerable to critique or criticism in the same way that, when I'm doing drag, I'm performing as Lavender, who has this armor and this shield. But if people start critiquing who I am, Jer is still in there. They're still listening to all of this, and they're not invulnerable to pain or hurt or sadness or rejection. So it's like content creation, a lot of people want to get into it. And I don't think we as content creators or streamers, what have you, even influencers, I don't think there's enough of a conversation of all those human elements that also happen.
Yeah, it's a lot lonelier than people think.
Yes.
I have been told many times, when I tell people that I'm an actor and a streamer, they always go, it must be so nice that you have so many like friends and all these things, and you make so much money. And I go, oh, no, and kind of no.
And also no.
But also pretends no. Like it's always shocking, because there is a certain a vision. Because you think about streamers, most people go to thinking about like Pokimane or Ludwig or all these big deal people. And I'll be honest, fully transparent, I'm not a big stream watcher. This always surprises people. I started streaming more as like, not as a joke, but I did it because I wanted to do it, but I did it without knowing any other content creators. Like I just wanted to do it. But streaming's a lot lonelier, and I think you brought up a good point. The human element does make it lonely. Same with acting, but a lot of people don't realize specifically where we're at in our kind of our journeys, I feel like, and I could be speaking for you, but you and I are like, we have enough people to kind of automate, but at the same time we can't, because we still need to like form like connections with individuals and be like have those fun moments. If we were most big streamers, like you read like one comment out of a blue moon,
right?
Like your chat's blowing up. But like for us, like we still have to want to have that relationship so that we can have an engagement. But with that, you're putting yourself on the line, like you said. You know, you get that human element, that vulnerability again.
Yeah,
and it could still hurt. So streaming is a lot. I think if people, this is advice, I guess. If you want to be a streamer, just be ready. It's a little lonelier. Than you might think.
Or even in the entertainment space. In the entertainment space in general, there are a lot of people, and I think you've touched on this, is a lot of people, I think, aren't necessarily going in thinking like, I'm going to be famous, but I do think there is an undercurrent of that when people get into music, acting, you know any space.
Can I have a great comment
on
that? Yes, those spaces, but they also are so competitive.
Yes.
And that also creates imaginary relationships with your peers.
Yes.
Because one of the reasons why, when you're famous, you have your inner circle, I'm sure.
Right.
But like when you're a working content creator, when you're trying to get there, when you're a working actor, and there's a lot of people's mentality. And this is not my mentality. But a lot of people are very hyper competitive with each other, and they start forming in their head. Like, I'll just give like a fake example, but like, oh, Jeremy, like, you know, they're stealing my ideas. And
right.
Like they're, you know, I taught them everything they knew. Like, and people like that, and that people have said this to me in my past. Like, you know, I think you and I talked about this years ago. But that is, once again, one of those moments where someone has formed a negative relationship with you, just purely off of you having a similar field. Same with acting. Like I've gone to auditions before and gotten a role, and someone's like, oh, I know what he's doing behind the scenes. And I'm like, I'm just acting. Like, so that's interesting. What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, that bleeds into something. I'll bring up a Disney situation. There was this girl who was really trying to get a princess, but was not able. Me too. But she was not cast. She was not the right fit for it. And one of her friends went out for the role too and got the role because she looked more like the character. And I remember she was like, I'm just so mad because she sabotaged me. She went and got that role because she knew I wanted it. And it's like, hello? I don't think she was thinking about you at all. I think she was thinking about what she wanted. And that kind of negative perception of competitiveness, the entertainment industry is very hyper competitive.
It's awful,
to the point where we're not even aware that we're being competitive with each other.
That's true.
I don't know if people are necessarily cognizant of it, or at least I want to believe the best, that people are not cognizant
I want to
of
believe
that.
People are nice about it.
Right.
Yeah.
That they're not intentionally like, you know, trying to go and be hyper competitive. But I think when other people start to succeed, it's very easy to get in your own head and be like, well, I must be doing something wrong, and they're like, doing something right.
Too. Yeah.
And that leads to that loneliness feeling. And I don't think that this is something that's brought up enough and talked about. And a lot of big content creators, I'm sure you see it on TikTok, they'll post, hey everybody, so I haven't been posting, or even on YouTube, I haven't been posting in a couple weeks. I'm dealing with a lot of mental health stuff and I'm having a really hard time. And I think a lot of that has to do with the audience, the viewers, you know, putting and fellow creators putting pressure down, and you feel all this loneliness at the top. Like, what do I do with all this? I feel this high from posting and people engaging and liking it, but then the loneliness happens afterwards.
Yeah, there's a sense of self-isolation almost, because
like,
well, even for me, like there are moments where I'll do something I think is like a success, but then I'll be like, I need to self-isolate. Like, I know I'm one of those people that I always ask, like, do I deserve a good thing?
Yeah.
That's just me as a weird guy. But like, but there's some times where I'm like that, and then I struggle with that a lot.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think one thing that is kind of interesting about parasocial relationships, or at least relationships with people you don't know, in intimate, like in work settings or internet settings, is that a lot of times I also want to be perceived a certain way,
Right.
and it's hard, like, to sometimes cultivate that. I have immense respect for content creators or actors who can socially present themselves a certain
Mm,
way. Like, even if you don't like this content creator, I'm going to reference them. I don't watch their streams, but I give them credit because they have formed a great persona that
mm,
people believe. Is Dr. Disrespect. I know he's a Call of Duty streamer. I don't
mm.
play the game. I don't watch him, but I do watch. I've seen some of his clips on TikTok, and he has a solid, rock steady persona that is consistent,
Mm,
and people perceive him in that way. But I'm
yeah.
sure in real life, he's I think half of his costume is fake. I think so. I think that's true. I don't know. I could be lying or gaslighting you. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get into it thinking that's going to be what it's like all the time.
Yeah.
That they'll just kind of start at that level, and there's so much that is built up to that point, and so
Oh,
many relationships that form along the way that hurt, that form you, that grow you, that challenge you, that make you a better person.
oh yeah, I
But
agree.
not everybody is willing, I think, to go through all that pain because it's a lot.
You do need a certain layer of thick skin
Right.
to be in the entertainment industry. One, because you have to be told no a lot.
Right.
But two, you have to deal with people, once again, having a different perspective and perspection of you, that you're like, this is not me all the time.
Right.
Yeah. You have to have thick skin on it, because it does hurt. Like, I cry. I've cried.
Right.
I cry about things about my career. So
Yeah, there's like almost a level that I've kind of gotten to, and maybe you're working on that too, or are at that place where you kind of have to think, I cannot care about what this person thinks about me. As cold as it sounds, that it's
yeah,
like, if this person doesn't like me, if they have a negative opinion about me, they think whatever, that's not my business. I can't deal with it. That is not my reality, and whatever they think, let that be true in their head, and they can do what they're doing. And that's a tough place to get to.
it's hard. I think the hardest part of that, what you just said, is the balancing act of it.
Mm,
Because as much as I want to be, I made a Twitter post about this as of this recording, is to be self motivated and like be my own fan, be
mm,
my own supporter and whatnot.
yeah,
I still teeter totter on the thing, is like, I wish this group of people liked me.
yeah,
And I think, but I'd be like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not important. Like, I need to do things for me, and it doesn't matter if like this viewer left, or like this casting director didn't want me, or
right,
stuff like that, or maybe my co-star didn't like me. You can't control people's perspective of you.
yeah,
But it is tough to really hone in and do it out of the right reasons. Like, you have to be self-reliant on the fact that you are confident that you are you. Like,
right,
I'm happy with this, doesn't matter, be damned if you don't like it. That's hard. That's hard. Like, it's something I've worked on for years.
yeah, yeah,
Still working on. Like, I can't claim that I've mastered the ability to confidently say that sometimes things don't bother me
right,
when things are said. Because I'm human.
yeah. Do you ever get the feeling for yourself
Mhm.
that you feel maybe isolated from starting new relationships when something like that happens? Do you ever feel like, okay, I gotta close off, I gotta lock down the house, and no more, never doing that again?
Yeah. Um, that's Man. These are some good questions. I I have a defense mechanism, which is not inherently always healthy,
Right.
which is where if something does hurt me, or if it doesn't work out the way that I thought it would, I sometimes will block out a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, the relationships, the people. If it's something as stupid as a game, like, let's say I stream a game for one day and I was like, whoa, well, that sucked. Like chat interaction was bad. Like, it wasn't good. I will never play that game again.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's bad. Like, I block it off. Like, and sometimes I do, like, if there's a moment, like, I'll block off potential relationships for people. Like, like I said, it's sometimes it's something I still work on.
Mm,
If I get burned by a person or a content creator, I have a bad habit of lumping it. Like, I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, Jared burned me, so I'm never going to talk to any of the DVD community. I'm not saying you're
Right,
locked
right,
into
right.
DVD, but for that instance, like, I'm
I
like,
represent all of them.
yeah, Jared, very good at DVD. Check out their TikTok, as always, hip hopping,
Please.
and other stuff's on there too. Look, that was a good plug. I nailed it for you. Go follow. But yeah, like, let's say, like, if I get burned by a friend, like a person that I consider to be a friend, I have a habit of being like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not gonna ever trust any people in that nature again. And I'll be
Right.
like, yeah, because it's hard being burned by people that you think are your friend, which is also in essence a reverse parasocial relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
You don't know
very
who they
that.
are.
Right. You have no idea who this person is. It could be literally anybody. And I don't know. I do the same thing where I'll completely close myself off and I'm like, okay, shutting down the fort. I'm not letting anybody ever do that to me ever again. I'm never
Again,
feeling this
yeah.
way.
This
And
applies in
I'll,
relationships, like in real life,
yeah.
like romantic partners. Like, I think after every breakup, I've been like, I'm gonna be single forever. Yeah.
I mean, I stopped talking to Tops for like 3 months because I was so over Tops.
Yeah, fair, valid.
I'm like,
valid,
y'all burned me too many times. I'm tired of this.
I'm done. I'm done.
Never. You're a top, canceled, out of here.
I think, but you know, like reeling in, I think it is inherently human nature. I think
Right.
to kind of do that as a defense mechanism.
Right,
Because,
right.
like, let's say a lion bit me, I would probably not trust all cats.
Right.
Because, like, danger. That's now, granted, it's not true, and eventually you learn that, you know, maybe a calico is actually not Satan in disguise, or, you know, or this black cat's not going to maul you in your sleep.
Right.
So, well, black cats can be a little mischievous.
Mine's very chatty.
I wish I had a cat. I just have my pet rock, Dwayne, which you know. Which everyone listening to the podcast would be like, this poor guy, he's so sad. He just has a pet rock.
Dwayne is an icon.
Relationship too. Because in my head, he's my best friend. In reality, he's a rock. Anyways, that was a fun. Totally made that not serious. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of an important element of it is lumping. A lot of people lump.
Yeah.
New science word, lump.
Yeah, it's a good word. I think kind of moving towards like a wrap up space. I think you touched on a good point there, and I think the kind of solution to all this, because we talked a lot about, you know, our own experiences with it, and I always like to try and figure out like what's next, you know. And I feel like you touched on that with realizing that not everybody is going to do that, and I think it's okay sometimes to kind of throw guards up and put walls up and not want to get hurt again and avoid something that is a stressor or a pain point. Yeah. But also understanding at some point and being willing to accept this is not going to happen every time. If I get hurt again, it's okay. This is a growth point that I'm learning from, and I just need to be more careful about how I navigate these things. And for anybody that's listening who is trying to move into that space, that being open to understanding this is not every single person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think all those are. I think that's a great statement. I think at the end of the day, the most important part of dealing with that type of situation is understanding that, you know, it's okay if they have a certain idea of you. Like, it doesn't matter. You can't change it, and it's okay. And it's okay if you're never going to be universally liked by everybody. And that's fine. You know, not every video or stream will be a big success, or things like that. I think it's always about changing your perspective, which, as a person who's still learning how to, you know, really be the best version of myself that I can be, it's all about perspective. You know, if the stream maybe didn't do as well, you know, maybe don't block playing the game forever. Maybe like I do sometimes. But change like how you approach the game. Maybe change, like, if someone unfollowed or they don't like you, they sent you a nasty message about something maybe you joked about. You know, be like, okay, noted. That wasn't a failure of a relationship. That's just something I've learned, and I will do better. Yeah. And I think the understanding that you can be better, and you can learn, and you can be content with who you are in your relationship with people you may never know. is important.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. And you touched on a
Meditation.
lot of really, really fantastic points that are in there. And I think it's so important to understand I'm not going to be everybody's favorite. I tweeted something out about this like weeks ago. And it's like, you can be the prettiest, nicest, sparkliest pink crayon in the box. And there will always be someone who wants a turquoise marker, you know?
Yeah.
You cannot be for everybody. That's not the nature of the world.
And I think that's fine.
Right.
That's good.
Right. And that's okay.
Healthy.
That is completely healthy. I would worry if everybody in the whole entire world liked you. I'd be like, what kind of magical powers do you have that not a single person doesn't like you?
We're working on it. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I think that you nailed it on the head. That's a great analogy. I think that's beautifully said. You know, be who you want to be for the people you want to be in your life.
Right. You attract what you want by doing that.
Yeah, I agree. You're so knowledgeable. I feel like I just word vomited a lot, and you were like, "Wow, good job, Aaron. You nailed it."
You give all the words, and then I
so
attach a meaning to it.
Oh, yes, poetic. I love it.
But you have all the words. You have all the words, but
they're words.
But thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it, and thank you for everyone who's listening right now, and thank you for everyone who tuned in. I would love to have you back on and do this again, because this was really fun.
This was a blast. No, thank you so much for having me. Thanks everyone for listening. I really appreciate you all. This has been a great conversation. So really, thank you so much, Jared.
Where can they find you if you would like them to find you?
Internet people listening now, if you want to find me also on the internet, you can follow me on the Twitter at Mr. Perp Brock. You can follow me on the Instagram, which I think also is that. Maybe. If not, look up Aaron, actor. Maybe you'll find it. But yeah, you can also find me on Twitch, which is probably the best way to find me.
Right.
Is go to Mr. Purple Broccoli, fully typed out. A lot of people can't spell broccoli. Trust me, I can't either. So
I struggle every time I do the broccoli command.
Me too. I've actually, brief side story, I'm done. When I first made my Twitch account, I misspelled broccoli twice.
Oh my God.
But I made it a third one, and this one's right. Anyways, go to my Twitch/whatever, MrPurpleBroccoli.com. Yeah, and I'm there. But yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Of course. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone who listened. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Remember that you are very loved, and you are doing a great job, and you are doing the best that you can, and that is all you can.